Don't fix what ain't broke. Or keep it simple, studio, or stupid if you want to keep it to the original. These are words I basically live by until I don't. So today I wanted to share a failure done by me so that basically you can avoid it. So as often as I can, and of course when I want to, I come into the studio to make music, and I recently started to realize that I was spending more time thinking about how and what I wanted to make versus making it. Side note, I've heard from artists before and more recently on this amazing podcast by Tiga with Fortet that their best work comes from entering the studio with true intention on where they want that song to be played. Also, shout out No Such Thing. I appreciate you, bro, for putting me onto that podcast. But at the same time, I also enjoy the occasional jam and kind of practice to keep the old knife sharp, right? So I think that's kind of where things went wrong. I had a perfectly working studio, and basically over a few weeks, I mean, it's better now, right? But I kind of turned it into this meatloaf surprise of a studio where nothing was really gelling or talking to one another. That's honestly the reason why my last synth latency video even exists, is because everything was falling apart in here and I just had to get to the bottom of it. I think the mistake I made here was too much change too fast, and I understand that this is a privileged issue to have. Oh no, I have too much gear, I can't make music. It kind of reminds me of the old meme, my fridge light doesn't work because there's too much food in it. But at the same time, I also know that similarly to me, that others have amassed a ton of gear over time, not overnight. It's a hobby, it's a lifestyle, a fetish, whatever you want to call it. Trust me, I know I have an issue. I debate over $2 to $4 bread at the market, while at the same time giving my local synth shop $500 like I found it on the floor. So what's my issue? Again, I changed too many things too fast. I also fell victim to being impatient and wanting more immediate returns on my time in the studio. This is an ongoing issue I have that crops up once in a while, which is honestly, I just forget to enjoy the process and I just blast through a track and end up with something I don't really care for. In this scenario, I had a perfectly working studio, which I was making a lot of music in, and one day I got bored with the setup. So, I thought this could be remedied by changing things up a bit. And of course, by a bit, I mean a lot, because over the week I ended up removing a bunch of things and trying to get similar results with different devices. And I would swap, one piece of gear out with another and then grab another to work with that one. And because those two sounded dope, I wanted to grab another thing. And, before you knew it, I was back to square one with getting familiar with my setup, which for me can take some time to get fully comfortable with. And the last thing I want to do is deal with headaches while making music. So here's my suggestion to myself, and this might apply to you. Whatever your studio is, have one dedicated area for a hot swap style function. For me, that's right here. I can easily fit whatever gear I might want to use that day or week or EP. This allows me to have a core foundation that stays the same, that I can get comfortable with while still being able to scratch the itch of trying or buying something new. If the MPC world taught me anything, it's that you don't need much to go a long way. A sampler, a synth, and a drum machine, and you're beyond fine. So I've been trying to keep it simple in here lately, and this means keeping the core, right? A sampler, a synth, a drum machine, and having my swap section be where I can add one more thing as the topping. Some days I want sprinkles, and other days I want, walnuts. That's a topping, right? And another thing about the MPC world is that in the making of my Of You EP, which was all done on a 4K, the MPC 4000 and a 404, link down below in case you're interested. It was all done on that, and during that process, I became so familiar with that setup that I felt as close to mastering something as I've ever felt before. Of course, there was a ton of stuff to still learn, but I was just so comfortable with that setup because I didn't really have a choice at the time. And what's more is that that setup produced what I'd like to think was some of my best works, if anything, some of the work that I was the most proud of. So that made me a mega believer in understanding the fine line of putting more time into something to yield better results, but knowing that too much time and you're just kind of playing yourself and wasting your time, if anything, making the track worse. It's a fine balance of knowing when to call a track finished, because too early it's a bit raw, which can be okay. It's all subjective. And too much time on a track and you've kind of burnt it. It got a little too crispy and you've lost the flavor, the vibe. Am I hungry or something? Why do I keep mentioning food? Another thing, I take a ton of inspiration from Stolen Drums, spelled like this. Please go check out his incredible setup. His setup as of late has rarely changed. He's just been refining his craft with the same instruments, but adding something new once in a while to spice it up. And every track that he's been putting out is getting better and better and better. Then there's me, just swapping things out nonstop to a point where I forget how to freak a machine and get the good squeeze out of it. In simpler terms, Stolen Drums is refining his process, not destroying his process. Refinement is a precision of thought, a polish to the core of your work. Your gear and your mastery that is achieved by your time, that increases your comfort, and in return brings more enjoyment to your process, which is the inspiration, is your sound. So don't do what I did and just keep it simple. Whatever you're trying to buy right now, don't buy it. Give it another week and try to do what you think that thing will solve on something else you already own. Is it literally impossible to do that? Then go for it, sport, and grab me one while you're at it. All right, I know it's a bit of a shorter hang today, but that was something that was bugging me, and I was hoping that I would be able to share it with you, and hope that, I hope that you found it helpful. Also, I guess another thing while we're here, if you have any fun tips that keep you inspired in your setup that you've been using for a while, please don't hesitate to let me know down below. Cool. That's it. Appreciate you more than you know, and I hope to see you again. Until then, you already know the drill, my friend. Share the love, share the knowledge. Knowledge is power. Peace. All right, so what was I working on?